thought I'd share with you some of my observations and things I've learned over the years about measuring. It's one of those subjects that's fraught with all confusion, danger, worry, and all the rest of it. And I certainly find from the classes I teach a lot of mistakes. Mistakes is the wrong word, but a lot of problems occur by inaccurate measuring. So when cookery books and magazines tell you have all your ingredients measured and weighed out in advance ready for you, that, yes, is a very good idea, because at least if you go down one item after the other on a recipe and you put it out on the chopping board in tiny cups, measuring cups, anything like that, so you have everything in front of you and you say, okay, there's the flour, the butter, the sugar and all the rest, you know you've got all the ingredients. But the other problem is they tell you, oh, dry ingredients should only be measured in dry measuring cups, liquid ingredients only in measuring jugs. Well, it's all well and good for them to say that when they're cooking normally commercial bakers, commercial chefs cooking in very large quantities. I don't know about you, but my measuring jug, it goes to 1/4 of a cup, but I don't know that I could easily see it, and I'm very much inclined all the time just to grab my standard Tupperware measures. And I know I was at a King Arthur demonstration some years ago and the subject of measuring came up. And they actually told us they went to some of the local stores, bought these measuring jugs, and you know, Pyrex, Anchor Hocking, Corning, all these different people that make them, as well as the no-name brands that you don't know about that are in plastic as measuring jugs. They said they bought them and tried measuring in them, and basically none of them had the same measurements. Now you think, most of these, the measurements are just printed on the side. They're not carved into it. So depending how accurately it's been measured by an engineer to make sure it's correct, is how accurately you're going to be measuring. And if you're depending on measuring jugs and cups that are inaccurate, you're not going to get anywhere. You know, you're losing to start with. And certainly if I'm doing something normally with less than a cup of a liquid measure, I tend to use my dry measures because it's far simpler to pour 1/4 of a cup of anything into a little 1/4 cup measure than to try and see it on one of these glass measures. So, you know, just to reassure you, I basically, that's what I do for both dry and wet measures. I do all my dry measuring in my dry cups, and basically anything under a cup I do in my dry measures as well. It's just so much easier and quicker. And there's very few recipes you'll be doing that the difference between the wet measuring and the dry measuring cups is going to make a significant difference to what you're cooking. If you're doing something amazingly delicate, yes, you're probably better off doing the measuring jug, but that only says if the measuring jug is accurate. And I know, I find my students, they frequently have wrong measures. Now, I'll show you how I measure flour, and if you look in the better magazines at the back, they'll tell you that the flour is either measured by the dip and sweep method or by spooning it. So what I do, this is a Tupperware container that holds exactly 5 pounds of flour, so that keeps it very clean and tidy for you. No bugs can get in, can't spill flour everywhere. I just gently fork it, spoon it, knife it up just to get some more air into it, and then sprinkle it in this way. And I end up, get a knife with a straight edge. You want to use the straight edge, not the curved edge. If you do the curved edge, you're going to get a curve in the flour. Just go straight the way across. And I have an electronic measuring scale here that I'm going to turn on, wait for it to come on, put my bowl on, and then reset it to 0. And this should be round about the 4 ounces, I hope. Don't make a fool of me. So this comes to 4.5 ounces, which is almost exactly perfect what you want for a cup of flour. Work on 4 ounces of flour is 1 cup. But if you do it by putting your cup in and compressing it down, and this isn't going to be compressed because I've aerated it up, but if you press it really down and then press it in like that, let's just see what it comes to. That's 5 3/4 ounces. So that's 1 1/4 ounce more. That's nearly 3 tablespoons more to just 1 cup of flour. So you're thinking that's a lot more in quantity for any measurement you're doing. And if that's in 1 cup, what's it going to be if you're doing 2, 3 or 4 cups? It all escalates and multiplies up. So it's well worthwhile doing it the way I did it, by gently aerating it. But the other thing is, if you do it by packing it down, always do it by packing it down, so that you know for that recipe, if the recipe says 2 cups of flour, you know to get the right appearance with your way of measuring, you're only going to use 1.5 cups of flour. And that's more difficult. It takes more knowledge of what you're doing. But certainly, definitely try and be consistent. I find, as I say, the Tupperware measures are good. If you see a recipe that says packed brown sugar, it literally means spoon the sugar in and then pack it down hard. So when you turn the brown sugar out, it stays in a solid lump, because packed sugar can weigh almost twice as much as white sugar, the loose white sugar we use. And all this difference in measurements makes a tremendous difference to the finished goods. As I say, I really notice with students, when I use my Tupperware measures, which I know I rely on and I use the whole time, I see the difference with them between their measuring. And again, the final thing is weigh all your stuff or measure all your stuff in advance and have it ready before you start cooking. It really does prevent a load of mistakes. I'm the first one to admit I've left bits and pieces out because I've been in such a hurry and haven't bothered to double check, or I've gone to the cupboard and discovered halfway through a recipe what I want is not there. Happens to all of us, but it makes it easier if you settle it all in advance. So let's hope that solves some of your problems in cooking. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.